The red sun of Kepler 438b cast long shadows across the mining colony as Administrator Kim Tai-ho walked through the main settlement. 3 years had passed since humans first landed on this distant world, and the peace had held longer than anyone expected. The tall crystal trees swayed in the alien wind, making soft musical sounds that the native Vorthok used to communicate. Tai-ho paused at the observation deck and watched a group of Vorthok moving through their crystal forest. They looked like living statues made of clear blue stone, each one about 8 feet tall, with long arms that ended in delicate finger-like projections. When they walked, tiny lights sparkled inside their bodies like stars trapped in glass. "Beautiful. Morning, isn't it?" said Dr. Park-mina as she joined him on the deck. She carried a datapad filled with notes about the aliens. "Kithara told me the crystal resonance is especially strong today. The Vorthok are sharing memories of their ancient history." Tai-ho nodded. Dr. Park had spent more time with the Vorthok than anyone else in the colony. She understood their harmonic language better than the translation computers. "Any problems with the new mining site?" "None so far." The Vorthok marked the safe zones clearly. "As long as we stay away from their sacred groves, they don't mind our operations." Dr. Park smiled. "Kithara has been very helpful. They seem genuinely curious about human culture. It's good to hear. The corporate inspectors arrive tomorrow, and I want everything running smoothly." Dr. Park's smile faded. "About that. My research shows the Vorthok crystal forests are more important than we thought. They're not just communication networks. The entire planet's ecosystem depends on them. If we damage too many groves—" "I understand your concerns," Tai-ho said carefully. "But we need to maintain good relations with Earth. The colony depends on corporate support." Far below them, a young human woman walked along a crystal path toward the research station. Lee Soman had arrived 6 months ago as Dr. Park's new research assistant. At 19, she was the youngest member of the science team, but her enthusiasm for xenobiology impressed everyone. Soman carried a sample case and wore the standard environmental suit required near the crystal groves. The Vorthok found human technology fascinating, especially the way humans use tools to extend their natural abilities. In return, they had shown Soman how their crystal networks stored information and transmitted it across vast distances. "Good morning, Kithara," Soman called as she approached a grove where one of the Vorthok waited. The alien's body pulsed with soft blue light in response. "Good morning, Soman friend," Kithara replied through the translation device. Their voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You come for the morning samples?"
"Yes, and I brought
the data from yesterday's tests. You were right about the symbiotic relationship. The crystal trees actually share nutrients with the surrounding plants through underground networks." Kithara's lights brightened with what Salman had learned was excitement. "This confirms old knowledge. Vorthok ancestors knew all life connected through crystal paths. Your machines help prove ancient wisdom." Soman opened her sample case and began collecting small crystal fragments that had naturally fallen from the trees. The Vorthok had given permission for this research, as long as no living crystals were harmed. Dr. Park says this could revolutionize how we understand planetary ecosystems. "Revolution," Kithara repeated slowly. "This word means great change." "Yes, that's right. Sometimes change can be good, and sometimes it can be scary. Vorthok do not fear change. We exist for millions of cycles. We adapt." Kithara paused, their lights flickering in a pattern Salman didn't recognize. But individual change is different. Vorthok always change together as one mind. Human change comes from single persons. Salman looked up from her samples. "You mean like personal growth? Learning new things on your own?" "Yes." Vorthok observed this in humans. Each person chooses a different path. Very strange. Very ... interesting. Before Soman could respond, the sound of approaching vehicles echoed across the valley. 3 black transports descended from the sky, marked with corporate security symbols. Salman watched them land near the main colony with a growing sense of unease. At the administration building, Tai-ho received the call he had been dreading. "Administrator Kim, This is Director Choi Hyun-woo. I'm here for the quarterly inspection and efficiency review. Taiho straightened his uniform. Director Choi had a reputation for aggressive cost-cutting measures. Welcome to Kepler 438b, Director. I hope your journey was comfortable. Comfort is not my concern. Profit margins are. I've reviewed your reports and extraction rates are 30% below corporate projections. Sir, we've maintained peace with the native population by respecting their territorial boundaries. The Vorthok have been very cooperative, but we need to honor our agreements. Agreements that limit our operations are worthless agreements. Director Choi stepped out of his transport, followed by 6 security officers in full combat gear. I'm here to fix that problem. Chief Security Officer Han Ju-sung surveyed the colony with professional eyes. He had served in 3 corporate conflicts and knew how to handle native complications. The Vorthok looked impressive, but they showed no signs of military organization or advanced weapons. Director, what are your orders regarding the alien population? Minimal interference for now, but I want detailed intelligence on their capabilities and weaknesses. If they become obstacles to productivity, we'll need options. Dr. Park watched the corporate team's arrival with growing concern. She had seen this pattern before on other worlds. First came the inspectors, then the demands for increased production. Then the necessary relocations of native populations. She activated her communicator. Salman, are you still in the field? Yes, Dr. Park, I'm at Grove 7 with Keithra. Is everything okay? Corporate security just arrived. Be careful what information you share about your research, and stay in communication. Keithra, who had been listening to the conversation through the translation device. The Vorthok's lights had dimmed to a worried blue-green. Danger comes, Keithra asked. I don't know, maybe. But don't worry. Humans aren't all the same. Many of us believe in protecting this world and respecting your people. Salman Friend speaks truth, but other humans bring fear sound. Crystal networks detect emotional vibrations. These new humans carry anger and greed. Salman felt a chill that had nothing to do with the alien morning air. She had grown to love this world and its gentle inhabitants. The thought of corporate interference destroying the delicate balance they had achieved made her stomach tight with anxiety. We should head back to the research station, she said. Dr. Park wants me to be careful. Keithra will remember this day, the alien said softly. Change comes whether we choose or not. But some changes cannot be undone. As they walked back toward the colony, neither Salman nor Keithra realized that their friendship would soon become the catalyst for the greatest transformation in galactic history. The crystal networks were already beginning to resonate with new frequencies, carrying whispers of approaching conflict to every corner of the planet. The age of innocence was ending. Director Choi Hyun-woo stood in the colony's main conference room, studying holographic displays of the mining operations. His cold eyes moved across the data with the precision of a predator calculating its next move. The profit margins were unacceptable, and he had flown halfway across the galaxy to fix that problem. Administrator Kim, explain to me why your extraction teams are avoiding 60% of the available mining sites. Taiho shifted uncomfortably. Sir, those areas are sacred to the Vorthok. We signed agreements to respect their cultural boundaries. Agreements that cost the corporation millions of credits every quarter. Choi's voice carried the ice of deep space. I'm here to renegotiate those terms. Vorthok will learn to be more flexible. Dr. Park Mina spoke up from her seat at the conference table. Director, my research shows that the crystal groves are essential to the planet's ecosystem. If we damage them, we could destabilize the entire biosphere. Your research is irrelevant to corporate objectives, Doctor. We're here to extract valuable minerals, not to study alien gardening. Chief Security Officer Han Ji-sung stepped forward.
I've completed my preliminary assessment.
The Vorthok have no military organization and no weapons technology.
They communicate through their crystal networks, which makes them predictable. If we need to relocate them, resistance will be minimal. Excellent. Now, about this research data that's been restricting our operations. Choi turned his attention to a file on his tablet. Dr. Park's assistant, Lee Soman, It's been documenting the connection between the crystal forests and the planetary ecosystem. That documentation could cause problems if it reaches Earth's environmental committees. Dr. Park felt her blood turn. Cold Summons research is legitimate science. She's discovered incredible things about how alien ecosystems function. She's discovered how to cost us money. Where is this assistant now? She's in the field, collecting samples at Grove 7. Perfect, Han. Take a team and retrieve all of her research data. Use whatever methods necessary. Meanwhile, in the crystal forest known as Grove 7, Salmon knelt beside a fallen crystal tree, carefully cataloging the mineral samples that had scattered from its broken trunk. The morning sun created rainbows through the translucent fragments. She could hear the gentle harmonies that the living trees created as they swayed in the wind. Keithara stood nearby, her crystalline body reflecting the colored light in beautiful patterns. Salmon friend finds many secrets in small pieces. Each fragment tells a story about how your people and this planet evolved together, Salmon explained. The crystals don't just store information, they're alive in their own way. They connect every living thing on this world. Yes, Vorthok have known this since time of first awakening. But humans prove it with science tools. Very valuable knowledge. Salmon smiled as she sealed another sample container. Knowledge should be shared, not hidden. That's what makes us all stronger. The sound of approaching aircraft cut through the forest's natural music. 3 security transports descended rapidly, their engines drowning out the crystal harmonies. Salmon stood up, her heart beginning to race. Keithara, we should move deeper into the grove. No fear, Salmon friend. Security humans cannot harm in sacred place. But as the transports landed and armed figures emerged, Salmon realized that Keithara didn't understand how ruthless corporate security could be. These weren't the peaceful colonists the Vorthok had learned to trust. Han Ji-sung stepped out of the lead transport, his weapon already drawn. 5 security officers spread out behind him, surrounding the area where Soman and Keithara stood. Lee Soman, by order of Director Choi Hoon-woo, you will surrender all research data and equipment immediately. Soman clutched her sample case closer to her chest. I'm conducting authorized research under Dr. Park's supervision. You have no right to interfere. I have the right to protect corporate interests. Your research threatens profitable operations. Hand over the data now. No. This information belongs to the scientific community, not to corporate profit margins. Han's face hardened. You're making this more difficult than necessary. He gestured to his men. Search her equipment. Take everything. As the security officers moved forward, Keithara stepped between them and Salmon. The Vorthak's body began to glow brighter, and a low harmonic tone emerged from their crystalline structure. Sacred grove protected by ancient law. Humans with weapons not welcome here. Stand aside, alien. This doesn't concern your people. All life in grove concerns Vorthok. Soman friend under our protection. Han raised his neural disruptor. Blast. Warning, move away from the girl. When Keithara refused to step aside, Han fired without hesitation. The neural disruptor sent crackling energy across the alien's crystalline body. Keithara collapsed, their lights flickering weakly as electrical feedback disrupted their nervous system. No. Salmon rushed toward her fallen friend, but 2 security officers grabbed her arms. Keithara, are you hurt? Tears streamed down Salmon's face as she struggled against the guards. Han fired his disruptor again, this time targeting Salmon herself. The young woman collapsed beside Keithara, her body twitching as the neural energy overloaded her nervous system. Collect all the research materials, Han ordered his men, and prepare the cover story. The girl had an accident while collecting samples, very tragic. What Han didn't know was that Keithara, though badly injured, remained conscious. The Vorthak's crystalline nervous system was different from human biology. The neural disruptor had caused pain, but not unconsciousness. For the first time in millions of years of Vorthok history, an individual member of their species experienced something completely alone. Not shared consciousness, not collective harmony, but personal, individual rage. Keithara watched as the humans began destroying Summon's research. deleting files and breaking sample containers. They talked about staging an accident that would kill the young woman, who had shown nothing but kindness to the Vorthok people. The injured alien's mind reached out through the crystal networks that connected every grove on the planet. But instead of sharing the experience through normal collective channels, Cathara began transmitting something new, something dangerous. They shared the concept of individual consciousness, the idea that one being could feel personal attachment to another, the rage that came from watching a friend being hurt across the planet. Millions of Vorthok suddenly experienced emotions they had never felt before. Personal anger, individual loyalty, the desire for revenge. Han Jusung and his team continued their work. Unaware that they had just triggered the evolution of an entire species, they prepared explosive charges to collapse part of the grove, creating the perfect cover story for Summon's death. Set the charges for maximum effect, Han instructed demolitions expert Kong Minsu. Make it look like a mining accident. The girl got too close to unstable crystal formations. Kong nodded and began placing shaped charges around the grove's largest crystal trees. 15 minutes until detonation. That should give us time to clear the area and establish our alibis. As the security team worked, Kithara's harmonic transmissions continued to spread across the crystal networks. The message was simple but revolutionary. Some bonds between individuals were worth fighting for, even dying for. The Vorthok had always been a peaceful species, sharing everything through collective consciousness. But now, for the first time, they were learning what it meant to feel personal loss, personal rage, and personal determination to protect those they cared about. The 15 minutes that Han Ji-soon thought would cover up his crime were actually counting down to the greatest transformation in galactic history. An entire species was about to discover what humans had known for millennia. Sometimes, the love of one individual for another could move worlds, and sometimes it could destroy them. Administrator Kim Tai-ho was reviewing supply reports when the first alarm sounded in the colony's control center. Chief Engineer Yoon Do-yan rushed to his station, his face pale with confusion. "Sir, we're getting massive energy readings from the crystal forest. The harmonics are off the charts." Tai-ho moved to look at the displays. Waves of energy pulsed across the screens in patterns he had never seen before. Is it some kind of natural phenomenon? Solar activity, maybe? Oh, sir. This is coming from the Vorthok themselves. Every crystal grove on the planet is resonating at the same frequency. It's like they're all connected to one giant network. Dr. Park Mina burst into the control room, her tablet clutched in her hands. Tai-ho, something incredible is happening. The Vorthok communication patterns have completely changed. Instead of collective harmonies, they're transmitting individual signals. What does that mean? I think they're developing personal consciousness. Each Vorthok is starting to think as an individual, instead of part of a group mind. Engineer Yoon pointed at his instruments. Whatever they're doing, it's affecting our equipment. Communications with Earth are down. The mining robots have stopped working. Even our basic life support systems are being interfered with. Tai-ho felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. How long until we lose critical systems? At this rate, maybe 6 hours. The harmonic interference is getting stronger every minute. Meanwhile, in Grove 7, Han Ju-soon watched his demolitions expert place the final explosive charges. Kong Minsu had positioned shaped charges around the largest crystal trees, designed to bring them crashing down on the spot where Salman lay unconscious. 5 minutes until detonation, Kong reported. The explosion will look like a natural crystal collapse. No evidence of human involvement? Han nodded with satisfaction. Perfect. The girl's death will be ruled an accident, and her research will be lost forever. Director Choi will be pleased. But as he spoke, something strange began happening around them. The crystal trees started glowing brighter than they had ever seen. The harmonic sounds that usually came from the grove changed from gentle music to something deeper, more urgent. "Sir," one of the security officers called out nervously. "The crystals are acting weird. Maybe we should move further away." Han looked around at the growing light show, but dismissed it as irrelevant. Just alien nonsense. stay focused on the mission. What Han couldn't see was that beneath the grove, Kithara's injured body was connected to the planet's entire crystal network. The wounded Vorthok was still transmitting their revolutionary discovery to every member of their species across the world. For millions of years, the Vorthok had shared everything through collective consciousness. Joy, sorrow, knowledge, decisions, all were experienced together as one unified mind. But now, Kithara was teaching them something completely new. The concept of individual love, personal loyalty. The rage that came from watching a friend being hurt by strangers across the planet. Millions of Vorthok suddenly understood what it meant to care about one specific being more than the collective whole. They felt Kithara's pain as if it were their own. They experienced Summon's kindness through the injured alien's memories, and they felt something they had never known before. The desire for personal revenge. Elder Vorthok, who had lived for thousands of years, suddenly found themselves thinking independent thoughts. Young Vorthok discovered that they had preferences and opinions that belonged to them alone. The entire species was evolving in real time, developing individual personalities and personal motivations, and they were all very angry about what the corporate humans had done to their friend in the colony's communication center. Dr. Park watched in amazement as her translation computers tried to process the flood of new Vorthok signals. Instead of the usual group harmonies, thousands of individual voices were speaking at once. Protect the young human. Punish the weapon carriers. Save Salmon. Stop the explosion makers. What explosion? Dr. Park asked aloud, then grabbed her communicator. Salmon, respond please. Are you safe? Static answered her. The interference from the crystal networks was blocking all human communications. Director Choi Hunwoo stood in his temporary command post studying reports of the growing chaos. His security chief Han had gone silent during what should have been a simple evidence collection mission. Mining operations across the planet had stopped working. Now his own officers were reporting strange behavior from the local alien population. Director, Security Officer Park Soon-ho reported from his patrol. The Vorthok are moving differently. Instead of their usual group formations, they're acting individually. Some are approaching our positions alone. Others are gathering in small groups. It's like they're organizing for something. Organizing for what? Unknown, sir. But their body language suggests hostile intent. Choi considered this information coldly. If the Vorthok were becoming aggressive, he would need to respond with overwhelming force. Prepare all security teams for defensive action. Authorization. To use lethal force, if threatened. Back in Grove 7, Kong Minsu checked his timer. 2 minutes until detonation. We should move to minimum safe distance. As the security team began to withdraw, the crystal trees around them started to move, not swaying in the wind, but actually growing and shifting position. Crystal branches reached out like grasping fingers. New formations erupted from the ground. In spiraling towers. What the hell is happening? One of the officers shouted. Han drew his weapon and fired at the nearest crystal tree. The energy beam struck the crystalline surface and scattered harmlessly. Keep moving. Don't let the alien tricks distract you. Act! But these weren't tricks. Across the planet, newly awakened Vorthok were discovering that their individual consciousness came with individual power. Each one could manipulate the crystal networks in ways they had never attempted before. And they were all focused on the same goal, protecting their friend, Salmon, and punishing those who had hurt her. The wounded Kithara, still connected to the planetary network, sent out a final message to their awakening people. It was a simple concept transmitted in harmonics that carried the full emotional weight of individual love. This human showed kindness when she could have shown fear. She offered friendship when she could have stayed distant. She protected our sacred places when her own people demanded profit. Now she needs our protection. Now we choose to stand with her against those who would do harm. The response was immediate and planet-wide. Every Vorthok on the world felt the truth of those words in their newly individual hearts. They had learned to think for themselves, and they had chosen their side. The crystal forests began to sing with new voices. millions of individual Vorthok speaking as one by choice rather than nature. Their message was clear and terrifying in its unified purpose. The humans who had attacked their friend would learn what it meant to face an entire species. Motivated by personal loyalty and individual rage, the age of Vorthok collective consciousness was over. The age of Vorthok individual justice had begun. The transformation began at exactly 1:47 p.m. colony time. Kong Minsu was counting down the final seconds to detonation when the ground beneath his feet started to shake. It's not an earthquake, but something far more deliberate and terrifying. 30 seconds to explosion, he called to Han Ji-soon, but his voice was drowned out by a new sound. The crystal trees around Grove 7 were singing in harmony. This was not the gentle music the humans had grown accustomed to. This was a war song. Crystal formations began erupting from the earth with explosive force. Spear-like projections shot up between the security officers, separating them from each other. The Vorthok had spent 3 years observing human technology and tactics. They knew exactly how to disable a military unit. "Sir, the crystals are growing too fast," Security Officer Lee Chanwoo shouted as a wall of blue crystal blocked his path. "I can't reach the extraction point." Han fired his weapon at the crystal barrier, but the energy beam simply scattered into harmless light. "All units, focus fire on the alien. Take down the one controlling this." But there was no single controller. Across the planet, every Vorthok was connected to the crystal network, and every one of them was acting with individual purpose for the first time in their evolution. They moved with the coordination of a hive mind, but the determination of personal revenge. The explosive charges that Kang had placed around the grove suddenly became encased in rapidly growing crystal. The shaped explosives were sealed inside formations so dense that detonation became impossible. "The charges are neutralized," Kong reported with growing panic. The crystals somehow detected the explosive compounds and isolated them. In the main colony, Administrator Taiho watched in horror as crystal spears began piercing through the corporate security compound. But the formations carefully avoided the civilian quarters and scientific facilities. The message was clear. This was targeted justice, not random violence. "They're only attacking corporate security personnel," Dr. Park observed as she monitored the situation from the control room. "The Vorthok are making a distinction between different types of humans." Engineer Yoon pointed at his displays. "The harmonic interference is getting stronger. They're systematically shutting down our military systems while leaving life support and civilian communications intact." Director Choi tried to contact his orbital fleet, but found all military channels blocked. The Vorthok had learned to manipulate electromagnetic frequencies with the same precision they used to grow crystals. "Get me a direct line to the fleet. Order immediate bombardment of all crystal formations." "Sir, communications are down. The aliens are jamming our signals." "Then use the emergency beacon." "Authorization code Omega 7. Fire on all targets." Back in Grove 7, the security team found themselves completely surrounded by crystal formations. The structures had grown into a maze that blocked every escape route, while somehow leaving clear paths that led toward the center of the grove, where Salman and Kithara lay. "It's hurting us," Han realized with growing dread. "The alien wants us to go to the center." "Sir, maybe we should surrender. The situation is clearly beyond our control." Han's pride refused to accept defeat by primitive aliens. "No retreat. If we can reach the center, we can use the girl as a hostage." As they moved through the crystal maze, the security officers noticed something disturbing. The walls around them were not just barriers, they were covered in images. The crystals were showing them scenes from the past 3 years of human Vorthok cooperation. Salman teaching Kithara about human culture, Dr. Park working peacefully alongside Vorthok researchers, Administrator Taiho negotiating fair treaties. Then the images changed to show their own recent actions. Han firing his weapon at Kithara, the security team destroying Summon's research. Kong placing explosive charges near the unconscious girl. "Down there." "Showing us ourselves," Security Officer Kim Taejon whispered. "They want us to see what we did." "Alien psychological warfare," Han dismissed. "Keep moving." But the images were having their intended effect. Some of the security officers began to question their orders. They had joined corporate security to protect human interests, not to murder young scientists and attack peaceful aliens. At the center of the grove, they found Cathara standing over Summon's unconscious form. The Vorthex's crystalline body was cracked and damaged from the neurodisruptor attack, but their lights burned brighter than ever before. Weapon humans arrive at Justice Place. Cathara spoke through the translation device. Their voice carried new tones, individual anger, and personal determination. You hurt friends, Omen? Now you break sacred trust. Now you face consequence. Raised his disruptor. Stand aside, alien. We're taking the girl. No, Salmon friend under protection of all Vorthok now. Individual protection. Personal choice. Round them, the crystal formations began to pulse with synchronized light. Every Vorthok on the planet was connected to this moment, but each one was choosing individually to participate. This was not hive mind compulsion. This was millions of personal decisions to stand together, high above the planet. The corporate fleet received the emergency beacon and began targeting the largest crystal formations for orbital bombardment. Energy beams lanced down from space, striking the crystal forests with devastating force. But something impossible happened. The crystals began to redirect the energy, channeling it through their networks and sending it back toward the ships. The entire planet had become a massive reflecting array, turning the fleet's weapons against themselves. Impossible, the fleet, Commander reported to his bridge crew. The planet is weaponizing our own bombardment. 2 corporate ships suffered critical damage as their own energy beams struck their hulls. The remaining vessels pulled back to a safer distance, no longer willing to risk engagement with a planet that could turn their weapons against them. In Grove 7, Han watched his last hope of military support disappear. The orbital bombardment had failed, his team was trapped. And he faced an alien species that had somehow evolved beyond anything in corporate tactical manuals. What do you want? He asked Cathara. Justice for friends Omen, understanding for weapon humans. You'll learn what we learned today. Crystal formations began to surround the security team, not to crush them, but to connect them to the planetary network. For the first time in human history, members of their species would experience true collective consciousness. They would feel every moment of pain they had caused. Every act of cruelty would be reflected back to them through the eyes of their victims, and they would understand in a way that no punishment could teach. Why their actions had awakened an entire planet to individual rage, the chaos was far from over. Administrator Taiho stood in the colony's emergency command center, watching reports flood in from across the settlement. The Vorthok assault was unlike anything in military history, precise, surgical, and terrifyingly intelligent. Damage report. He called to Engineer Yoon Doyon. All corporate security installations are destroyed or isolated, but civilian areas are completely untouched. They even avoided the school where teacher Nam Hunji was conducting classes. Dr. Park Mina looked up from her communication console. I'm receiving signals from individual Vorthok across the planet. They're trying to contact us directly. One has a different voice pattern now. What are they saying? They want to distinguish between corporate security humans and colony humans. They're asking us to choose sides. So the implications hit Taiho immediately. The Vorthok had learned enough about human society to understand that not all humans shared the same goals. They were offering the colonists a chance to separate themselves from corporate aggression. Medical Officer Song Yuna rushed into the command center. Administrator, I need permission to treat injured Vorthok. My scanners show that several aliens near the security compounds have taken damage from weapons fire. Treat injured aliens, Taiho repeated, realizing the significance of her request. Song, if you help the Vorthok, the corporation will consider that treason. And if I don't help them, I'll be betraying everything I believe in as a doctor. These beings have shown us nothing but kindness for 3 years. I won't abandon them. Now, before Taiho could respond, a new voice came through the communication system. It was young and shaky, but unmistakably human. Colony base, this is Salmon. Can anyone hear me? Dr. Park nearly dropped her console. Salmon, are you safe? Where are you? I'm in Grove 7 with Cathera. The security team that attacked us is trapped here, but the Vorthok aren't hurting them. They're doing something else. Something that's making the soldiers understand what they did wrong. What do you mean? The Vorthok connected them to the crystal network. The soldiers are experiencing collective consciousness. They're feeling every emotion they caused, seeing every moment of pain they inflicted. It's like forced empathy. Taiho felt a chill run down his spine. Soman, what's the condition of the security team? They're alive, but ... changed. Chief Han is crying. I've never seen a corporate security officer cry before. They understand now what their actions meant to the Vorthok people. Director Choi's voice suddenly cut through the communication channel. He had managed to establish contact from his fortified command post. All colony personnel, this is a direct order. Any human who assists the alien insurgents will be court-martialed for treason against Earth. Director Taiho replied carefully. The Vorthok are not insurgents. They're defending themselves against unprovoked attack. They're obstacles to corporate objectives. I'm declaring martial law over this colony. All personnel will report to corporate security for reassignment. Dr. Park looked at Taiho with determination in her eyes. Administrator, what are your orders? Taiho realized he faced the most important decision of his life. He could obey corporate commands and maintain his position, or he could stand with the people and aliens he had come to respect over 3 years of peaceful cooperation. Colony personnel, he announced over the general communication channel. You are hereby released from corporate authority. Each person must make their own choice about where their loyalty lies. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Teacher Nam Hungi was the first to speak. I stand with the colony and our Vorthok friends. Engineer Yoon followed quickly. The Vorthok have never shown us anything but cooperation. I won't turn against them now. Medical Officer Song was already packing her emergency medical supplies. I'm going to Grove 7 to treat the wounded. Any human or Vorthok who needs help. One by one, the colonists declared their independence from corporate control. Farmers, technicians, researchers, teachers all chose to stand with the aliens who had welcomed them to this world. Director Choi watched his authority crumble in real time. You're all making a terrible mistake. Earth will send military forces to restore order. Earth is 6 months away, Dr. Park pointed out. And they'll want to know why corporate security attacked peaceful researchers and violated interspecies treaties. In Grove 7, Salman helped Medical Officer Song treat Cathara's injuries from the neural disruptor attack. The wounded Vorthok's crystalline body showed cracks where the energy weapon had disrupted their nervous system. Will they be okay? Salman asked as Song applied healing compounds designed for Vorthok physiology. Their people are remarkably resilient. The damage looks worse than it actually is. Song looked at the security officers who sat nearby in various states of emotional breakdown. What about them? The Vorthok call it justice learning. Instead of punishment, they make people understand the consequences of their actions through direct experience. It's more effective than any prison. Chief Han approached them slowly, his face streaked with tears. Dr. Song, I need to say something. What we did here today was wrong. It's not just tactically wrong, but morally wrong. The Vorthok showed us what Summon's friendship meant to them, what our betrayal felt like. Song studied his face carefully. Do you understand now why the Vorthok reacted so strongly? Yes. If someone had attacked my daughter the way we attacked Salman, I would have done anything to protect her. The Vorthok were protecting someone they considered family. Across the planet, similar scenes were playing out. Vorthok individuals were making contact with human colonists, establishing personal relationships based on mutual respect rather than species loyalty. The newly awakened aliens were discovering that humans, like themselves, were capable of individual choice. But the crisis was far from over. Director Choi still commanded orbital weapons, and he was desperate enough to use them against the entire colony if necessary. The Vorthok had shown they could defend against bombardment, but at what cost? The answer came when Cathara, recovering from their injuries, sent a message through the crystal networks to every human on the planet. Friend humans and weapon humans both learned today, Vorthok learned too. We discover individual choice means individual responsibility. Some humans choose kindness. Some choose cruelty. We choose to protect kind humans and teach cruel humans. The choice belongs to each person alone. The message was clear. Vorthok would not judge all humans by the actions of a few. They understood that the species, like their own, is capable of both good and evil, depending on individual decisions, but they would defend their friends with the full power of their awakened world. And they would ensure that those who chose cruelty learned to understand the pain they caused. The final confrontation between corporate power and individual conscience was about to begin. Director Choi Hoon-woo stood alone in his command bunker, surrounded by dead communication equipment and the wreckage of his authority. His security forces were either captured or had defected to the colonists. His orbital fleet remained out of range after the planet had turned their own weapons against them, but he still had one option left. Computer, initiate Protocol 7. Authorization, Choi Hoon-woo. Director, Level 9. The computer's cold voice responded. Protocol 7 will result in complete sterilization of planetary surface. All human and alien life will be eliminated. Confirm authorization. Confirmed. If I can't control this planet, no one can have it. Above the planet, the remaining corporate ships began charging their most powerful weapons. Not precision strikes this time, but area bombardment designed to crack the planetary crust and boil the oceans. Nothing would survive. In Grove 7. Kythera suddenly stiffened as the crystal networks detected the energy buildup in orbit. Their newly individual consciousness processed the threat with terrible clarity. Solomon friend. Danger comes from sky. Director Human chooses to destroy all life on planet. Solomon felt her blood turn cold. Can your people stop it, like you stopped the first bombardment? Not this level of destruction. Too much energy, too widespread. Kythera's lights dimmed with sadness. We can protect some areas, save some life, but not all. Medical Officer Song looked up from treating another wounded Vorthok. How long do we have? Weapon chips charge for 7 minutes, then all becomes fire. The news spread across the colony through the crystal networks and human communications simultaneously. In the face of total annihilation, an extraordinary thing began to happen. Administrator Taiho opened the colony's emergency channels to broadcast across the planet. All humans in Vorthok, this is your administrator. We face destruction together. So we will face it as one people. No more corporate authority. No more species divisions. We stand together, or we fall together. Teacher Nam Hunji gathered her students, both human children and young Vorthok, who had been learning in her integrated classes. If these are our final minutes, we spend them as friends. Engineer Yoon Do-yoon worked frantically alongside Vorthok. Technicians trying to boost the crystal network's defensive capabilities. Maybe we can create a planetary shield. Link every crystal formation into one massive protective array. Dr. Park coordinated between human technology and Vorthok abilities, finding ways to combine their strengths. The Vorthok can manipulate matter at the molecular level. Our computers can calculate optimal configurations. Altogether, we might achieve what neither could alone. But the most remarkable transformation happened in Grove 7. Chief Han, his mind still reeling from the forced empathy experience, approached Kythera with something humans rarely showed, genuine humility. I know I have no right to ask this, but is there anything I can do to help? My people and I caused this crisis. If there's a way to make it right. Kythera studied the man who had attacked them just hours before. In their newly individual consciousness, they felt something they had never experienced, the possibility of forgiveness. One human learned pain teaching, now chooses different path. I understand now that Salman wasn't just some corporate asset to be eliminated. She's someone you care about, someone worth protecting. I want to help protect her too. Former security chief turned to his team. All units, new mission parameters. We protect the civilians and assist the Vorthok in planetary defense. Across the planet, other corporate personnel were making similar choices. Not all of them. Some remained loyal to corporate doctrine, even in the face of extinction. But enough humans chose cooperation over obedience to make a difference. The crystal networks began to sing with new harmonies as millions of Vorthok focused their abilities on planetary defense. But this time, they weren't working alone. Human engineers provided technological support. Human mathematicians calculated optimal energy distribution patterns. Human courage provided the determination to attempt the impossible, with 4 minutes. Until bombardment, the planetary defense grid came online. Every crystal formation on the planet linked together into a single massive array. Human orbital stations added their power to the network. Even the mining equipment was repurposed to channel energy through crystal conduits, but it still wasn't enough. "We need more power," Engineer Yoon reported desperately. "The incoming bombardment will overwhelm our defenses." That's when Salman made the decision that would define the future of human-Vorthok relations. "Kithura, can you connect me to the crystal network? It's not just to communicate, but to actually join it." Dangerous for a human mind. Crystal consciousness, different from biological consciousness. But possible? Possible.
Right.
But Salman's friend might not return unchanged. Salman looked around at the friends who had risked everything for each other, humans and Vorthok working together despite their differences. Some changes are worth the risk. Dr. Park realized what her assistant was planning. Salman, no, we don't. Know what joining the network might do to you? We know what not joining it will do to everyone else. Salman placed her hands on Kithara's crystalline surface. "I trust you, friend." The connection was unlike anything in recorded history. The first time a human consciousness joined the Vorthok crystal network, not as an observer, but as a participant. Salman's mind expanded to encompass the thoughts of millions of aliens while maintaining her individual human perspective. The effect was immediate and profound. The combined network suddenly had access to human intuition, creativity, and adaptability alongside Vorthok technical precision and collective processing power. "I can see the bombardment pattern," Salman's voice echoed through both human communicators and crystal harmonics. "The ships are targeting specific points to create a chain reaction. But if we redirect the energy instead of just reflecting it..." The planetary defense grid reconfigured itself according to Salman's hybrid human-Vorthok consciousness. Instead of trying to stop the bombardment, they would capture it and use it to strengthen the planet's crystal networks permanently. When the corporate fleet fired their planet-killing weapons, something unprecedented occurred. The energy beams struck the planetary surface and were absorbed completely. Every joule of destructive force was channeled through the crystal networks and transformed into new growth. Crystal forests erupted across the planet in spectacular displays of light and life. The bombardment that was meant to destroy the world instead made it more beautiful than ever before. Above the planet, the corporate fleet found their weapons drained and their ships powerless. The same network that had absorbed their attack was now peacefully disabling their vessels. Director Choi watched his final gambit fail with the realization that he had lost everything. His authority, his fleet, and his purpose were all gone. But unlike his subordinates, he refused to learn from the experience. "This isn't over," he transmitted to the planet below. "Earth will send more ships. The corporation will not tolerate this rebellion." The response came from an unexpected source, Salman, speaking through the crystal networks with her consciousness expanded beyond purely human limitations. "Director Choi, you're welcome to return to Earth and explain how corporate greed triggered the evolution of an entire species and created the first true alliance between different forms of consciousness. I'm sure your shareholders will be very interested in that report." In the months that followed, the galaxy learned about the transformation of Kepler 438b. The planet became a symbol of what was possible when different species chose cooperation over conquest. Salman, permanently changed by her connection to the crystal networks, became the first human Vorthok hybrid consciousness. She served as ambassador between the species, helping others understand that individual choice and collective responsibility could coexist. Her research, preserved perfectly in crystalline memory, became the foundation for a new science of interspecies cooperation. Kithara remained her closest friend and partner, proof that bonds between individuals could transcend the boundaries of biology and evolution. Together, they welcomed new visitors to their world: scientists, diplomats, and refugees from corporate oppression. The Vorthok, awakened to individual consciousness, chose to share their gift with other species. Planets across the galaxy began to experience similar transformations as beings learned to balance personal identity with collective responsibility, and Chief Han, forever changed by his experience of forced empathy, became the colony's new security chief. His mission was no longer to impose order through force, but to protect the growth of understanding between all conscious beings. The girl who had been targeted for protecting alien interests had become the architect of a new age of galactic cooperation. The alien who had experienced individual consciousness for the first time had taught an entire species to evolve beyond their limitations, and humanity learned that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their aggression. It was their ability to inspire others to become more than they ever thought possible. The galaxy would never be the same.